Good evening, November Foxtrot, and welcome to another exciting Wednesday.
Absolutely.
How are you all doing, guys?
Pretty good.
Scalded my mouth on coffee, but other than that, brilliant. Ow.
Andy, you're on mute again, so this is
I
going
keep
well.
doing it. I keep doing it.
This is why you should never trust someone like that with buttons. Yeah, you mustn't have buttons.
We're joined this week by Scott. Scott has joined us from across the pond, representing Lone Tree. Well, not representing, you are effectively Lone Tree MilSim, as far as I'm aware. We'll get more into that.
I got a lot of guys on the team, and they help me with the channel, so I guess I'm the figurehead, but I mean, it's not just me, at least.
Yeah. You're the face. The face.
Yeah, you're the pretty face of it. The rest of them are ugly. And you just keep them behind the scenes.
They're all just stood behind that clothes rack at the back there, just peeking out. Can I look yet? Can I look yet?
Yeah. Am I allowed out, boss?
Yeah.
Scott, before we kind of dive into anything too much, do you want to kind of introduce yourself, give us a bit of a flavour for who you are?
Okay, well, I run the YouTube channel Lone Tree MilSim. We're just crossed 100,000 subscribers, and we have a team. There's a bunch of us. It's kind of changed over the years. I've been playing Airsoft MilSim for maybe about 12 years, and the team's kind of changed throughout then, and we like to go travel around the States and do different events and try and make videos for it, and it's just been a lot of fun. Kind of an old school player. I played like 12 years ago, and then I took a 6-year break, and then I just recently started back up last few years, and so been loving it. So,
well, first of all, congratulations. The plaque is looking awfully nice.
Go on, show it off, Scott.
Go on,
the floor is yours, sir. The floor is yours.
Yeah, there it is, all shiny. So I'm trying not to get too much light on it, but yep, for 100,000, they send it to you. So.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Never thought I'd actually get that.
Congratulations. Well done.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah.
Now you put it out the shop, please? Just
yeah.
So I don't want to see it anymore. It actually upset me. I was watching one of Scott's videos earlier, and it was the MilSim prep, and it got to the part where he was out in the field, and he revealed his 4x4 with the roof tent, and then I literally just started to weep because I recently sold my truck which had all that stuff in it, and I was just like, I can't watch any more of this. I'm welling up already. But yeah, all good content. Yeah, you must go and check out his channel. Yeah, it's cool.
Appreciate it.
So we're going to be talking all things U.S. MilSim, and basically, if you have a question for Scott, throw it in the chat. If you could put a little Q at the beginning, it just helps us keep track of anything sort of popping up as it comes. We're joined this evening by Daniel, Pegasus, Carl, Lanav Challenge, Chris. There's no doubt a few more. Pegasus says, when NoFo gets 100k, who gets to keep the award? We're going to cut it into thirds.
Yeah. I mean, Mike should, because he doesn't even look like he plays Airsoft. So we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? Like all of our backgrounds.
Yeah. Mike literally looks like he's just recently won a gun in a raffle and now wants to take part.
So actually, what you can do is when you get that award, you get like a special email from YouTube, and you can go and buy one. Well, they give you the first one free, and then you can buy any extras for your teammates or whoever's on your channel or a team. So,
do you know what
they get smaller?
Yeah, so they did get smaller. So
key rings.
August they made them considerably smaller. Thanks for pointing it out. Yeah, I think like $100 or something like that to get another one made. But I did go on eBay, and you can buy some from China that are the original size, and like $60. So I have one upstairs up in the living room. So you can.
You can just buy
do that.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, you can do it. You can even make custom ones and put them for 1,000 subscribers. Stick it in the back. Nobody will know.
There we go. Yeah.
One subscriber.
I haven't got I haven't even got a YouTube channel. I've got this through the post. Brilliant.
Bell Hell Airsoft. Where is mine, Scott?
That's my buddy.
Here we go.
He's hoping to move back around here, and I'll get him one if he comes over.
Now we stirred the hornet's nest.
So there was some news this week. Lance, you had a bit of news.
I do have news. Not good news, unfortunately, ladies and gents.
Should we play the news intro? Because we
can. I can't change the background though to the newsreel, so
that's fine. We've got
the green screens.
I pick my gun and I go pew 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 pew.
News.
Cuts you
I'm
off
really
again.
sorry I cut you off again.
Yeah, you must stop that. Yeah. Honestly. Anyhow, so Facebook page Apocalypse Airsoft Kent, a gentleman called Paul David. I have checked that he's happy for me to share this. So And this was a few days ago now. Had my car broken into last night in Sittingbourne. Case was in the boot with my MTW 10-inch Gen 1 and 2 pistols, Sam Viper, and an R501. If anyone has offered anything for sale, thank you. He's put pictures up, so we'll add this to our NoFo community chat. I don't know if you'll be able to see them, but it's some really nice kit there that some nasty piece of work has decided to take for themselves when they're not entitled to. So, yeah, keep your eyes open. We will put these pictures up on our Facebook and our Instagram. So if you do see anything for sale that resembles this, obviously, please do get in touch, or alternatively just contact police straight away. Yeah, not nice. But then on the flip side of that, don't keep your rifles in your car overnight, because it's a really bad idea. I know people can. I think even Paul admitted it was just a complete, slip of the mind, absolute brain fart. And obviously, before we realised it's too late. So yeah, that's just a thing to take away from that. Is even if it's the only thing you do, is just make sure you take them rifles and pistols and pyrotechnics indoors. Make sure they're locked away. At a minimum. You can easily replace trousers or pants and tops, jackets. It can be replaced, but there's a lot of money goes into those riffs. So let's be mindful and keep your eyes open for those in the future. So not good. Definitely. Not good news this week, unfortunately. But news nonetheless.
Especially as well, like if they're willing to break into someone's car to take stuff, if they've been given something that looks realistic, you don't know what they're going to do with it.
Exactly that. Yep. So yeah, not cool. Not cool at all.
Oh, that was sad.
That's the end of the news.
Hey. Wah, 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 wah. Sad ending. That's not taking the Mickey ending.
No.
I wasn't going to play the news outro because I think it's a moment of solemnity. I think would be important there.
Absolutely.
It's serious.
Yes.
So, it's shit when stuff gets nicked at best. Right, Scott, over to you. Tell us about where did Lone Tree MilSim start?
So about 12, 13 years ago, a group of friends invited me over here and they were like, hey, we should go play Airsoft. I didn't know what that was at the time. And they just had spring guns and we were just messing around with spring guns. And then we looked up on YouTube and we saw Scout the doggy playing and doing all this stuff. And we're like, whoa, this is really cool. And so we ended up buying some automatic airsoft guns, and that was a ton of fun. And then where we were at the time was in Wyoming, which is such a barren wasteland. There's nothing going on out there, but there was one place that we could go play, which this old guy owned this canyon. It was called Lone Tree Canyon. And so we were able to go play there. It was like a paradise for airsoft, lots of trees, no wind, just amazing. And so we started getting more and more friends involved, started playing there. That's when we came up with the name Lone Tree MilSim, was because of the canyon, Lone Tree. Mm-hmm. And then we started seeing events pop up around the country, and we started getting groups together, and we started going to them. And that's essentially how the team started. And then I just bought a GoPro, decided to make my own videos at one point, started putting them up. And then pretty much the video that kind of started the path of what I'm doing right now is we went to an event called the Rhodesian Revolt, which was down in Utah. It was a 24-hour straight MilSim event. We had managed to get a full team of 12, and we were all around the 19, 20-year-old age group, and so we drove 10 hours to the event. It was one of the best events we've ever been to. I made a video on it. It blew up a little bit, at least for me at that time, and that's when the ball started rolling, and then, started making more videos like that and getting more invested into it. So cool, that's I guess the beginning of the team. Yeah.
At what point, Scott, did you and your team sort of step back and go, yeah, this is really a bit of us, and then you suddenly plunged headfirst down the rabbit hole of purchasing kit, and I need this, and I need this, and I also need two of them, and that?
So I went to a MilSim with my brother, and it was just the two of us that went. The first one we went to, and we realized when we got there, we were like, whoa, we are such noobs. We don't have anything. I think we didn't know how much like mid caps to bring. So we just borrowed with it from everybody that couldn't come. So I think my brother and I had 12 mid caps just stacked all around us because we thought we would need it for the whole event. And at that point I was like, okay, I need to do some research. And we did some research and started adapting our kit. And then, pretty persuasive with other friends, like, oh dude, you gotta get a plate carrier, oh you gotta get a helmet, you gotta look the part, you gotta get multicam, and so eventually we all suckered into it. And for about 4 or 5 years we went pretty hard doing a lot of events and stuff like that. And at the time, the YouTube was the only thing that I was making money off of because I'm not American. So at the time I was on a student visa, and so I couldn't get a job. And so YouTube money actually ended up paying my rent for those first few years that I was doing that. So
Nicely done.
Gave me more motivation at that time.
Absolutely, yeah, I can imagine it did. Yeah.
So obviously you're in Colorado at the moment. I was very lucky to be over there literally towards the middle of last year. Did a little driving tour. We did a lot of the canyons and stuff, and a lot of the mountain peaks and things. What are the sites like in Colorado and Utah? Like obviously there's such a varied amount of terrain from Utah to Colorado. Like literally you can go from desert all the way through a bloody jungle to the mountains. So do you get quite a good like mix of airsoft sites and what are the like?
So we have a few like casual sites where you can just go play for a day, you know, where there's rentals and other stuff like that. And most of them are just in fields where people have built structures that you can go play around. There's a few, maybe I think around 5 in this within a 2-3 hour range of driving. And so there's a few like that. But when it comes to MilSims, it's pretty barren around here. For the last few years, there's only been one event, which is about 3-4 hours away, and it's pretty much just woods ball, which is a lot of fun. But it's not what everybody wants to play in buildings when they go to MilSims. You know, they want that experience. You know, woods balls is fun and all, but you know, airsoft has that limited range, so that's when that struggles. So a lot of the events we end up having to go to, we have to drive quite a bit. Last year we went down to Texas, which was a 14-hour drive, and then next week we're driving to California, and that's going to be a 15-hour drive. And so that's the level that we have to go to here in Colorado. And I'm actually working with American MilSim right now, trying to figure out if we can get access to a couple sites here in Wyoming and some other ones in Colorado. There's a military base up in Wyoming that's a few hours away that has a huge training facility that we used to play at 10 years ago. People used to host events there, but nobody's been there since. And then there's also one here closer in Colorado that I had a buddy that was working with the National Guard there, and they used to do different events and training facilities there. So I'm trying to get the ball rolling to open up a few more MilSims closer by, because 15-hour drives to a MilSim event is really hard to wrap up. Get people
that's
to come
intense.
with you.
I start getting a nosebleed after about 3 hours in the UK.
I mean, if we drove for 15 hours, we'd be underwater. Like,
well, I think if it was 15 hours, I think you could quite safely drive to the top of the UK and back again.
And a lot of the driving here is so boring. It's just flat open highways, you know. So it's just just buzz down there. So
Blimey,
you got to make it work.
Do you get a lot of airsoft players in the area? Like, I mean, so you say there aren't a lot of MilSim sites per se, MilSim events, but I mean, are there a lot of airsoft events and things? Is there scope?
Yeah, so it feels like it's pretty decent around here. At least when they hosted the event here back in October, American MilSim, they sold out. I think they had about 400 people come out. But whenever I go to the fields locally, there's usually like 50 to 100 people on a given weekend, you know, especially when the weather's nice. But it can vary. A lot of new people always starting out. Who knows how long they stay? There's a little bit of speed soft in this area and a little bit of MilSim, but I think it would be a lot bigger at least in this Colorado area if there was more options for MilSim, which I think hurts it in this local area. So specifically,
but maybe you need to organize your own one.
Yeah. Well, I did host one back in the day at that Lone Tree Canyon. I managed to get 60 people out. I hosted the whole event, ton of fun, and maybe I'll do that again someday. You know, so
I mean that was going to be my next question, Scott. I mean, obviously,
sorry,
with not what you've just asked, but it's like a good segue actually. So following on from that, so what are the restrictions obviously around Colorado, Wyoming, where you're at, with regards to sort of like essentially going off into like a public forest or way out in the bush sort of thing, if you like, and sort of essentially setting up your own game? I mean, is there restrictions in place for you to not to be able to do that, or
it's pretty tricky. There's a lot of people that live in this area and a lot of outdoorsy people. So they have public lands that you can go camping on and disperse camping, where you can just drive wherever and set up a tent. And, but you'll see a lot of hikers out there. There's a really big gun community in this area. So oftentimes you'll go out to an area, you'll be camping, and there'll be people shooting guns at the campsite, maybe a couple hundred yards down the road. So setting up an airsoft game in that area, you kind of need to have a way to section it off. So it's a little tricky for me to try and host, hey, we're going to go play out in this forest where I don't know who else is going to be out there, and doing one, especially with real guns. That Lone Tree Canyon that we started out of is private, and I know the old guy that owns it. And so he's willing for me to have people come over, but can't have a huge crowd come do that. There's some spots in Wyoming. Wyoming's a little bit more casual where you can go out and play, but I don't think you could get a big group of people. The rest, you kind of have to get permission from the owners. Here in this area, there's not a lot of old buildings, so everything's relatively new. So there's no like abandoned buildings, like no abandoned malls, no abandoned factories or stuff that you can just go play on. So it's really just a lot of woods ball. But I know East Coast and West Coast is a little bit more of that.
So it's essentially like private hire sort of thing from a land agent or landowner sort of thing. Yeah. It's exactly. Very similar to here, really.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I noticed when we were over there, the amount of trails that you can literally take, and like you're walking along and you think, I'm definitely in someone's land right now, and then you turn the corner and there's a whole campsite, and you think, hang on a minute, where did this come from? So I'm guessing like finding places that are, because obviously for us, like as airsofters, we don't want to shoot random members of the public and start getting a reputation like that. So obviously finding somewhere that, like, we do want somewhere secluded, don't we? Really, like,
but then you say that, Andy. I've been to a couple of sites in the UK here where you've got public bridleways which go through an airsoft site, and it would be a case like in the safety briefing: if you see people on horses, don't shoot them.
We don't have a cavalry element to this game.
There's no cavalry. The Chargers of the Light Brigade or Custer's not going to be coming over the hill to save you. So, just please stop and let them pass. It's just like random. Like there's a bridleway going through an airsoft site.
I mean, like ComSite 3 from Rift, there was a public walkway that literally goes through the middle of it. So you have to put like a load of like safety glasses on each end. And then sometimes like you get like 15, 20 ramblers coming through, and none of them have put the safety glasses on, so the whole game has to stop. And you're just like, you're just sat there in all your gear, just watching these people walk past, looking at you like they've walked to some Al Qaeda training camp or something.
Hurry along, just that way. Keep going that
way. We've had a couple of questions come in. So Pegasus asks, "What's your favourite event company to go with for a MilSim?"
So right now, I'd say it's American MilSim. Since restarting the last few years, a lot of the companies that we used to go to are actually out of business. There was Black Sheep MilSim, Titan MilSim. A few of these companies just don't do any anymore. But American MilSim seems to be the most friendly in terms of getting newer players into doing MilSim events. I haven't been to a MilSim West event, which is the 40-hour nonstop event. I'm hoping to do that maybe this year or next year, but they just don't really host games in this Midwest area. They did one last year, but I was unable to go to it. But I definitely want to travel out there, make sure I got a whole team of players that can go do that. Lions Claws is a ton of fun. They always seem to have the coolest location, but they're primarily out on the East Coast, so that's always quite a drive. And then we did Third Coast Airsoft as well last year, which is extremely casual. It wasn't my style, but American MilSim is probably my favorite at the moment. Yeah.
Cool. Marky Mark also says, "Can Scott be the middleman for selling and sending DPM kit to the US?" So we had our resident smuggler here on that side.
It wasn't smuggled.
No, it wasn't smuggled, but they went over to the US and took a load of DPM kit, because apparently there's a big love for British DPM over there.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I did make a killing. Oh, I was well happy. I was like,
suitcase full of Woodland DPM kit, and he's like, "Yep."
And I came back with loads of stuff. I was like, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I managed to find this little army surplus shop, and he was like, "Store credit, okay?" And I was like, yes.
Absolutely yes.
I'll take that.
I can imagine Andy being like that scene from Commando where he just busts through the shop window and just takes a shopping trolley and just starts loading it up. Flippers, yeah, I need some flippers. Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean,
I'm not gonna lie.
On that note, so I mean, you've obviously mentioned a really like multicam and MTP. Like, I think that's prevalent everywhere. Do you get a lot of people kind of dressing up in sort of British DPM? Because I mean, I know there's a lot of love for the US woodland pattern over here. So
yeah, honestly, not so much. When I first started playing 10, 12 years ago, everyone was wearing woodland. Like, that was just the thing. You would go to a MilSim event and they'd be like, the green would sell out first, and then the tan team would struggle. So that's why we went multicam back in the day, because we're like, oh, tan team always needs help because there's so many new players just wearing woodland. But now it's like the complete opposite. You go to an event, tan side's completely sold out, and everybody's running multicam. And then green team always struggles to fill out, and green team seems to be a little bit more diverse. You'll see tiger stripe, you'll see like desert night camo and stuff like that. But it's pretty like, you might see AR1 or desert digital on the tan side, but it's mostly multicam, and then green side is just a mix of everything. So
are the camo patterns very strict for events in the US, Scott? Is there any leeway there at all? Or?
So they're pretty strict. American MilSim specifically, they have a set, like they have like 5 camo patterns you can choose from, 5 or 6 or something like that. And green has to be green, and tan has to be the tan. And recently they've made it so that your headgear has to also match. So you couldn't have a green mask if you were on tan side, because that's the first thing they see. They don't care about gear color, but I have been to other events where they're like, your gear has to match as well. You have to have a tan plate carrier or a green plate carrier,
Right, with you, okay.
So typically they're pretty strict. I mean, I don't know if you know much about MilSim West, but they do NATO versus Spetsnaz or Russia, and so you have to be matching that kit that NATO would be using and using their weapons. So you have to use what the NATO actually uses. And if a country doesn't carry that gun, you can't use that gun. And same with the Russian side, you have to use Russian gear, Russian camo, and Russian-styled weapons. And so they're extremely strict about that too.
Yeah. I suppose that's when it comes into the guise of, I'm special forces, so we're just in field into country and grab what we can get. So I'm NATO, but I'm rocking an AK.
Right. No, they're at least MilSim West, they're really strict on that. I picked up the new Crytek LMG, and that's not allowed at the event because no current military uses the Shrike. So I can't take that there. They're very strict, but when you look at their events, they look awesome because everyone looks the part. You're not going to get as much team killing because you can clearly identify, hey, that's the enemy team.
Yeah, it adds that element of immersion, doesn't it? If everyone's sort of like rocking the right kit and stuff like that, it's always good. Yeah, I think it's quite similar in the UK. I mean, they're a bit more relaxed on what weapon you use. I mean, if someone's on NATO and they've only got an AK, it's not the end of the world. Literally all their other kit matches. They're in a team with guys that's got all the correct kit on. So if they get shot for having an AK by a dude on NATO, that's a bit crap, really. But weapon wise, they obviously they encourage you to have the correct weapons, but it's not the end of the world if you don't, sort of thing.
Right.
But kit wise, they're more strict on the kit. Yeah, 100%.
We're actually hoping to get MilSim West on at some point to have a chat with them.
Sweet.
But I've just made a note about American MilSim as well, because that might be another episode as well that we can have a chat with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm still going to drag these two over at some point as well, Scott. Yeah. So we'll get you and Randy with us, and you can take us to a decent MilSim.
There we go. Yeah,
well, if you two get your bike licenses, then we can hire bikes and we go out there and just cruise. That'd be cool.
I've got a bike license, but I won't go back on one.
You can in America because the roads are like 1,000 foot wide and they're straight. So
I mean,
there's no chance you could fall off.
How about Andy and I hire a Hummer? We'll hire a Hummer, and then you can be on the bike, and we'll just like convoy it that way.
Absolutely, yes. Down for that. Yeah, that's cool.
So, obviously, in regards to hiring like a Humvee, what's like? Obviously, over here we don't have a what I would class as a sort of military background, or as many army bases, and a lot of the Brit stuff tends to just kind of be thrown in a storehouse somewhere. What's getting kit like over there? Because obviously you've got like a massive like shooting community and things, which all want real steel stuff. And
is
it really easy, or
it's so easy, and it's cheap too. Like Amazon is
okay.
filled with gear, eBay is filled with gear. It's ridiculous, you know. You can, like, if I want to build out a loadout, I can do it in a couple days because it'll be here same day, you know, almost. It's so easy. You go down to any shop downtown, you can find it. You know, it's really simple. You know, a lot of military guys sell their stuff on eBay too if you want proper things that were issued. You know, and so
you can't beat a bit of issued kit.
Yeah, because obviously our main thing is obviously a lot of stuff that you can sell within the States. You're not allowed to post over to the UK because of like ITAR regulations and things like that. So obviously there is a jealousy on that part, especially with me anyway.
I bet.
So what's it like taking? I know some states have like a state border. That like you have checkpoints and things. Like if you were to fly, what's that? What's that sort of like? Is it pretty easy to get kit around?
Just carry it on the plane over there, don't you?
Yeah. So I've not flown with my kit yet. I've just driven everywhere, and you can just drive across state lines. They don't care. But I know with flying, you can carry your gear in like a carry-on, and that's no problem. Or you know, or like, you know, check bag. And then your guns, you have to declare as almost a firearm. You have to have it in a secure case, and you know, make sure it's locked and they know what's in it, kind of thing. And I think it's pretty easy to do within country. Just expensive because it's a big heavy box, you know. But I don't think there's any restrictions on that, you know, because here you're free to carry firearms, and they're not really firearms; they're just replica toys, you know. Here, so
because it sounds like pretty much the same as internal. Basically, if we need to fly over there, we just get a couple of forms filled out by the airline, and that's it. Job done.
So I'd imagine it's a little bit different flying internationally, you know, going to different countries, but that's, you know,
just wheeling a lot of gun cases through the airport. So it's absolutely fine, absolutely fine.
It's pretty common here in America.
I mean, us three coming over there, be like, first time in the US, and I'm bringing guns.
I mean, if us three turned up, I mean, if us three turned up, we'd get stopped anyway. They'd be like, there's something a bit sus with these three.
Just be like, nah.
You might as well get back on.
Genuinely, because I've got dual nationality. When I went over there last, literally I was like, just walk straight through passport control. Welcome back. Yep, not a problem. That confused him in my British accent.
Cheers, geezer.
Passport. And then had to wait for 3 hours for my wife to go through passport control. I was like, this is ridiculous.
See, I have a confusing one as well. Like I was saying earlier. So I was actually born in South Africa. My parents were born in Rhodesia, which was a British colony back in the day. So I have UK citizenship. So I have a British passport. But the town I was born in, South Africa, is called East London. And so
mate.
we went to Mexico, and then when we came back, they were so confused because they had my British passport. It said I was born in East London, South Africa, but I sounded American. And they were so confused. They're like, this is clearly a forgery. This is clearly a fake.
Whoever made this for you is terrible at making fraudulent documents. They don't even know where things are.
Right.
I always get stopped. Every year we go to America, they always pull me to one side and be like, your accent doesn't match your passport. And I'm like, but it does. Like, I'm not Australian. I'm like, I mean, this is how we sound.
Look dodgy, Andy. That's the problem.
I can't sound any different. I'm sorry.
I mean, if I put an accent on, you'd arrest me for racial discrimination anyway. So,
Scott, changing tack slightly to talk more about your YouTube. So I've got a couple of questions on this, but what's been your favorite video to do? Because I know you've done your sort of Amazon, like almost MilSim on the cheap type thing through Amazon. You've obviously done some event gameplay stuff as well. So what's been your favorite that you've made?
So I like doing the loadout videos. I always get people asking like, what should I buy? I've got this low budget, you know, so making affordable loadouts for people, I love doing because it really helps people out. At least a good entry point for people. I've been really enjoying the style of the gameplay videos that I've been doing recently, because a lot of the guys on the team have GoPros now. And so I'm able to incorporate that all in, because I'm not the best airsoft player. So oftentimes I'll go die and then the video will suck. But then if I die, I can switch to somebody else and have them continue the action on. So that way it's a more entertaining video. We're actually going to MilSim next week, and I think we'll have 6 or 5 people with head cams on. We'll have like 4 or 5 zoom cams, and so a couple rear cams, and my brother's bringing his 360 camera as well. So we're going all out. So I'll have a lot of stuff to work with making videos. I've been enjoying those, but those take so long. Like some of them can take me about 40 hours, of just editing, to try and get one made. But I really, probably the one that I love making the most is just making like a montage, like a really cool trailer for an event. I find a cool song, put all the best moments. That's what I started doing. That made me love editing, and I still like to do that for every event I go to. It's probably the one I feel the most satisfaction, and I go back and rewatch the most. Is those ones, because often people say, "What's airsoft? What's MilSim? What are you doing?" And I can then show them, "Hey, look at this trailer, cool. 4 minutes action. This explains what I like to do."
And why you like to do it.
Yeah. So your 100,000 subscribers are just you, just with different accounts.
Yeah.
We've got him, YouTube. We've got him.
Just purging YouTube with adding that decimal point at the end of each email. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, in regard to editing, like, do you find that your gameplay, I don't know how to word it. When you're out playing a game, do you think, if I did this, it would be really good content? So you're more focused on the content of what you can get with your camera than, like, obviously you still enjoy the hobby. But do you find yourself thinking more along the lines of, well, if I attack this way, it's going to be really good, but if I attack that way, it'll be really quiet, but I'll have more fun? Like, how do you balance that in regards to being out on the game?
That's a good question. So that is definitely in my mind whenever I'm playing. It used to not be when I first started. I would just hit record and then run around and do whatever. But now whenever I'm playing, I'm like, even if I'm knackered after doing a huge sprint, I'm like, this sucks. This footage sucks. Nobody wants to watch this. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to sprint. I'm going to throw a grenade. I'm going to try and do something crazy. Which is not usually good, because I'm usually the squad leader of the team, which I should be sitting back helping the guys figure out what to do. But I'm like, no, I gotta go in there. I gotta get kills.
It's like that video on World of Warcraft, isn't it, when they're all having that briefing before they go in a dungeon, and he's just like, I've had enough of this. Tears off.
So,
the rest of your team is sitting there having lunch.
Where did he go?
My buddy John's always like, dude, you got to sit back. You're in charge. You got to tell us what we got to do. And I'm like, I like to go forward. Let's go. It's fun.
Content.
Way. So no, it's definitely a big part of whenever I'm playing. But the thing I've had to learn is, because cameras will fail, SD cards will fail, GoPros will overheat and not work. And if that happens, I've really got to go into my brain and say, okay, disconnect. It's not happening. Let's just have fun. That used to get me down. I used to be like, man, it sucked. I didn't do anything. I can't make a video. What a waste of a day. I wouldn't actually enjoy it if I didn't get good footage. But now I've been able to disconnect that. I'm like, I'll hit record. I'll try and make things happen. But if it doesn't happen, I'll try and have fun, and make sure. I mean, one of my main focuses, being usually the squad leader, is making sure the rest of the guys on the team are having fun. That's make sure everyone's together, make sure everyone's having fun, and so that's a big important part about it. So
100%. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more.
Definitely.
I tried video with the GoPro, I think, for about a month, on and off with events, and I just instantly was like, if I video this and then if I video that, and literally I didn't enjoy what I was doing, so I was like, literally, it's going to go over there, and I'm going to use it on snorkeling holidays instead in the sea.
Nice. It definitely makes me more proactive when I play, if anything. Like, instead of sitting back, and just not like waiting for the enemy to come, I try to make something happen, make action happen. And so I feel like that is a good part about it. But it does get me killed sometimes. So So
do you think, like, at the moment you've kind of worked out a good balance between like gameplay and footage play.
Yeah.
Of what you get and things. So
yeah.
Oh, obviously, I don't know how long your MilSims last, but out of like, say, if you did a 24-hour, what sort of video length are you looking at? Do you try and keep them at the same sort of lengths, or?
So recently, I guess American MilSim events that we've been going to recently, they're not 24 hours, which is the only downside I have to those events. I love a full 24-hour event. There's nothing better than 3 a.m. shooting people, everyone's exhausted. But they kind of go like 10 to 12 hours on the Saturday, and then they do another like 5 to 6 hours on the Sunday, which is fine. But for my video editing, it kind of depends on what footage I got. For the last event, we had, I guess, 3 missions that I could make a video out of. So I made 3. I'm working on the 3rd video right now, and those are 20+ minute videos, which is new for me. I'm like, I'm going to make longer videos. I feel like people are enjoying watching longer gameplay videos instead of the short, fast-paced, old videos I used to make. So I've been taking my time with it, trying to explain to the audience what's happening, and so if an event has a bunch of really cool like missions where I can have a beginning, like this is what we're going to do, and then an end of like whether we died at the end or we succeeded, I'll make one video out of that. So yeah, gonna get 3 from the last event, and I'm hoping for this new one I'll be able to at least get 3 for that. So I don't know, make a little gameplay playlist series. People can go and watch part 1, part 2, part 3 kind of thing. Yeah, there's not a lot.
Sorry, no, go on.
There's not a lot of YouTubers that are making like, I guess, multiple parts of an event with like of a team with multiple cameras and different things and explaining the mission. A lot of the YouTube videos just show the best moments and a lot of cool and funny stuff. I really want to show people how an event like plays out, how like
almost like a mini series within each event, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so if you see the, I guess, 1861 event recently that I put up on my channel, I show the part 2 one. We throw up a drone out there, and so we say that, okay, so we're going to go do this huge flank. I show up the map. I show where we're going to go walk. And then I'm like, all right, we set the drone up here. These are the objectives we're going for. And I try to keep the audience able to watch what's happening. And I've got a lot of people commenting saying, oh, that's really cool to see how it works. I think I could do a MilSim. That's not so scary. I can see, how it's structured, and people wanting to try it, like, oh, that looks fun to go do a mission like that.
Yeah, it makes it more appealing, doesn't it, to people? They get a bit of an inside line on like what to expect and stuff. Yeah.
And eventually, I'd love to hire
working together. That's the thing, don't they? Like,
yeah.
We're humans. It's absolutely, they work better as a team always. Do you know what I mean?
One thing that I'd love to see, and you never see, because all YouTube videos are, this is the gameplay, this is what we're doing, this is the talk, but no one ever shows sitting down having lunch, going for obviously you can't go watch someone go for a shit, but like, going to dig in a hole, getting like one shows.
You're after the wrong sort of videos.
That's the OnlyFans account. But no, do you know what I mean? No one shows the what it's like in between the firefights.
Yeah.
But the back of house stuff sort of thing.
Yeah, like the back of house, like setting up your camp and things.
Yeah.
So
right, make a note, guys. We've got to do a video on how to poo on a MilSim.
We've already done that.
I'm sure you've already done that, Mike. Trying to brand me and Andy the oddities when we know who it is.
Garage has popped in saying telling the story is important. His Burget video has 8 parts, and he's just released his Burget 18 full video, all 8 parts that are 3 hours long.
Blimey.
I'll have to check it out. I'll have to see.
That's a marathon.
That's a lot of work.
That's this Christmas's viewing sorted out. That will replace all 3 Lord of the Rings films.
Got the popcorn ready.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you with the YouTube stuff, do you find that there's any? I mean, not to make a negative turn on the conversation, but do you find there's any negativity towards you, or sort of gameplay and stuff? And like,
so, it's definitely changed. So, I've kind of only been doing YouTube for maybe about 4 or 5 years, even though the channel's like 11 years old, because I did it for the first 2-3 years. Then I got married, got a job that took away my life, and then only the last 2-3 years I've started back up again. So you actually look at my analytics on YouTube, it's like it goes up, and then it plateaus, and then it goes straight back up again. So it's changed quite a bit. So I'm like at the beginning, at the end, like it's two completely different communities and people, from that time. Back then, I used to get a lot of people that were in the military, ex-military, that hated this. They did not like Airsoft or MilSim. They're like, why don't you join? Why do all this negativity? But over this course of time that I wasn't playing, a lot of gun YouTubers like Garand Thumb, Dirty Civilian, and some other bigger ones out there have come out and said, hey, if you guys like to be training with your military stuff, because it's a big community over here, gun culture, you guys should go do MilSim events. And that has had a huge impact, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Because whenever we go out now, like a lot of the players we meet have all served. And actually the team right now is actually, a lot of the old members don't play anymore. So I've kind of been building up the Lone Tree MilSim team again. And about half the members that are going next week to the MilSim event have served in some capacity. And it's really cool to have actual military members involved. But definitely a lot of negativity back in the day of, why don't you join? This is stupid, They don't really understand what we're playing. And it's definitely a lot less now. Everybody seems to be a little bit more accepting of the MilSim community, which is really cool to see. But every once in a while, you do get a little bit of negativity. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've encountered it over here as well with events and like day training stuff and that, where we've had we've been to events with former serving and still serving sort of like soldiers and this, that, and the other, and they've come away from it saying, what the benefits would be if Airsoft was used within the military, especially for the CQB stuff, how much cheaper it would be rather than using sort of like simunition and stuff like that. And the fact that the contact it hurts at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. It's still, if you get whacked in the neck or something with a BB, it hurts regardless of who you are. A couple of the guys that I've been to events with, they said the training benefits of Airsoft and the Airsoft weapons, and especially the gas blowback stuff now. Yeah, the realism factor there. They said it's like almost second to none. It's really good. And that's a really positive thing as well. Hearing that.
Yeah, and also another thing you've been seeing in like a lot of ex-military come and join, and it helps with their PTSD too. Like being able to get that camaraderie, playing with guys in a military type environment, because a lot of these events here, the people that host it have served. Or at least the ones that are in charge of the platoons and command, they've all served, so they have experience. And these guys that try it, they're like, oh man, I've been missing this in my life. I've missed having a brotherhood, hunkering down and yelling at each other, and that it's really cool.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, the PTSD sort of side of things and that, and helping sort of like former serving troops and stuff sort of cope with that, like a coping mechanism. Yeah. But also on the other side of it, of spending 2, 3, up to 10 years or so serving, and then all of a sudden not, but having that massive skill set they've developed over 10 years, suddenly like, I've got nowhere to use these skills anymore, and sort of keep them honed. But then obviously this sort of MilSim is a way to keep the cobwebs away, if you like.
Right. No, it's great.
I don't know what it's like over there. Over here, there seems to be a very large influx of serving and ex-serving personnel wanting to pass on that knowledge as well. We're quite friendly with a group called JBG. They're active and non-active, and they do CQB courses, and they're getting bigger and bigger as far as I'm concerned each year. Did you find that that's happening over there as well? Like, do you get people willing to do like training courses and things so you can work as a team better?
Yeah, there is a little bit of that. Actually, my buddy John, who's I think he's watching right now, he was a Marine, and he wants to start getting our team trained at a local field and say, hey, let's do these buildings and actually practice how we're supposed to clear rooms and stuff, because half the team have no experience with that other than just what we've learned playing Airsoft, where we've learned bad habits. And so he wants to try and get that out of us, which we've not really done as a team in terms of actual training, which is something we'd love to do. But
You'll
not be
absolutely
something...
love it.
Oh yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
I
was always on the fence a little bit with training, but then when we first went to a JBG training course for a day, sort of come out of there like absolutely buzzing. It's like, definitely need more of this, because this was awesome. Not only learning stuff but just enjoying it as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to start doing that a little bit more, because also great excuse to hang out with the guys, and get to understand how they work, and I love that part of it. We won't be.
Go on.
We won't be as serious. I don't know if you remember Green Mountain Rangers back in the day. They were pretty serious. And when I was a kid, I was like, man, these guys are the coolest. I want my team to be like this, but maybe not as strict. But I like the dedication, that they had.
Fair play, yeah, it's cool.
I mean, I've learned so much. No, go on.
No, I was just going to say I laughed there because Andy has a reputation for being a bit of a rep for JBG, because obviously being part of the JBG team.
No, I'm representing. I've got a patch on tonight. Come on. Someone picked. And I've got coffee.
Yeah.
Got JBG coffee.
Yeah.
And the cafetiere.
But yeah, like personally, I think training is probably I enjoy the training a lot more than I do the airsoft games at the moment. I've definitely seen an improvement. Like even just going through like general gun skills, like how to holster your weapon, go to your secondary, how to make sure that you're reloading properly, like the magazine, and you're not just screaming like a 12-year-old child going, "Where are my magazines?" and just throwing everything on the floor. I find it's definitely got me a lot more. It's got me a lot more involved.
100%, yeah, and it's added immersion and realism to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. Like for like muzzle discipline and things like that, you're clearing a corridor and it's like you're stacked up on 6 guys going in the corridor. It's like where you're keeping that muzzle safe from your own guys, but being able to do something about it if it was a target sort of presented itself. Yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, the JBG events, outstanding. Cool.
Paulus Wales has asked, is there a reason we often see less pyro in American games?
That's probably the fire bans. We get a lot of wildfires here. Colorado's and Wyoming's pretty dry, so we don't typically be allowed to use it. We're allowed to use like Thunder Bee grenades, CO2 grenades, and stuff like that. Those are fine, obviously. But in terms of smoke, it's kind of event by event. The one we're going to next week, it got approved, so we're going to be able to see a little bit more pyro and smoke grenades used there. But honestly, it's just because there's so many fire bans here. It's been really dry. We don't get the rain like England does. I tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it eventually struggle to throw a Mark 5. You just strike it, and just the biggest raindrop will go plop.
But I have to admit, right, the one thing that's been popping up recently, and I have got myself some, are the I know Mike's got one, is the new 3D printed pyro, the one that take the gun caps, the old school cap gun caps. Generally, I'm actually rather impressed with those. Like they're quite loud. They're cheap as well, so you can throw one and forget about it. It'd be interesting to see how they, like obviously over there, how they would work with like your fire regulations and things like that. The grenades themselves, I bought one and I launched, like literally threw it at a concrete wall for about 15-20 minutes and nothing happened to it. So they are.
Your neighbours must love you.
Oh no, this was yeah. There's a dent in the wall, but yeah,
Andy,
like
are you all right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just doing science.
Yeah. Like, do you have a lot of 3D printed sort of stuff over there, or because it's so easy for you to get proper kit, it's not really something that's
there's not a lot of 3D printed stuff. There's a lot of obviously a lot of the companies are based out of here, so you can just get everything, from the place right away. For the grenades itself, have you guys seen Thunder Bee grenades? I don't know if that's a thing over there. Okay, yeah. That's pretty much what our team uses a lot of, because those shells are super easy to replace, and it's very reusable. So that's in a sense what we do, and they just have a kill radius, because they don't do PP hits here as much anymore. So, but yeah, I'd love it if we could use more smoke grenades and stuff, but they don't. They're very strict about it, So,
I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't allowed to use my mortar at a MilSim event.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of that. You don't see a lot of that here. Some people have underbarrel grenade launchers. If there's vehicles and events and stuff, and but that's pretty much the extent of. You don't see a ton of. At least me, I haven't seen a lot of 3D printed stuff. No.
In regards to that, like obviously the mortars are obviously a massive fire risk because you're launching them and you don't know where they're going to land. Do you find that because of that, you see like more tag rounds being used over there because they're slightly different? They're CO2 powered, aren't they? And,
if there's vehicles, people will bring them. The woods ball events we've been going to here in Colorado, there's no vehicles, so there's no need for them. But with the one we went down in Texas, there were a couple technicals that would be driving around, and people had those grenades, which is the only way to take them out. So, just got to be prepared for that. But that's pretty much the extent of that.
See, we use them on each other. There's not a lot of vehicles. We just fire them at each other because that's how we roll.
Mike, I just sent you an image on our WhatsApp. I don't know if you can share it.
I'll bring it up.
I think this is one of our team members. Wayne, or call sign Fresh Meat, using a mortar at Longmore, which is the Urban Training Centre, which is one of the British Army urban training centres, which we've been to a lot of events at. But obviously, in the last 2 or 3 years, it's been used for other training for other countries to prep. So it's been few and far between events. But there's another company in the UK called Defiant who have secured sort of like the rental ownership of that site. So events are coming back in thick and fast now, which is like a huge village, urban training village, which is an absolute awesome site to MilSim at. Yeah, I think this is Wayne returning fire. Yeah.
You don't do that a lot here. That's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah,
so when you come over, we'll make sure that we get the mortar team out for you.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
and we'll let you have.
We'll get some extra rounds in.
There we go.
Just 2 bandoliers of mortar rounds and a mortar. Here we go. This is game on.
Yeah. Where's Scott? He's just letting off mortars over in the field.
Right.
I think it was that event that I was returning fire with some. I think it was James from Punishers.
Mins.
At one point, and we were firing rounds, and then we got to the smoke section of the bandolier, and we didn't realise, and we put the smoke round in, but we put it in the wrong way round because it was just a smoke grenade. It wasn't a mortar round. So this grenade went in, and it just started to smoke. We were like, "Ooh, is this going to explode? Like, what's happening here?"
Just boom.
Gosh.
Yeah. Scott, your loadout specifically. So you've obviously mentioned that you kind of take a team leader role. Do you find that you tend to steer towards like an assault rifle type platform, or do you go like a DMR or MG or something like that?
I'm pretty much just a rifleman. Whenever I go and play, I'm actually, for the first time this next event, I'm going to be running a saw. And I'm gonna. Yeah. I think it'll make me sit back a little further, so I'll be good for being a squad leader. I don't know. I'm trying.
Not at all.
You know? I think a saw would look awesome on the channel, so I really want to get a lot of that footage. So I'm gonna try it out this next event. Maybe trade off with someone else on the squad. But typically, I just run rifleman. I've not really run any other roles other than that. But that usually just works for me.
What does your kind of loadout entail? Is that?
So actually I watched one of your podcasts earlier, and one of you guys is a big Agilite fan.
Oh God, here we go.
Yeah. So
that would be me.
Oh, nice. So I've become a huge Agilite fan over the last couple of years. I've built out my whole load out of here. It's got a K0, got all the pouches and stuff on it. I love it. I think it's great. They just seem to always come up with new stuff that I'm like, ooh, that looks great. That looks really innovative. You know, I want to try it. And I don't work for them or anything like that. They don't send me.
Oh no!
Stuff.
I don't work for them, but I will plug them. Have you seen their new chest?
Well, you've seen that, Andy.
Yeah, I know.
You're tester.
Oh,
yeah.
It looks great. It looks great.
Oh yeah, I managed to get on the testers team.
Yeah, I didn't. I applied. They said no.
Oh no! They said no to me 15 times.
Oh really?
And eventually they said yes. I think they just got bored.
And Andy's one of those guys, Scott. You'll learn now.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll have to keep applying. I'm like, hey, come on! I got a YouTube channel. Send me free stuff. You know. I'm already positive, already biased. You know.
Have you, Scott? Have you ordered the new Agilite medic pouch by any chance?
So I did not. I actually got there's like a knockoff version I found on Amazon. I just built it. I filled out with the kit with stuff that I think I would use.
There we go.
So it's on the back of the belt that I have.
The thing is, if you ordered it, Scott, you would get it filled. Like it comes filled, doesn't it? Whereas when we order it, we're not allowed it filled for some reasons, but they still charge us.
But it's the same price.
thought on the website they had an option to add the fill, because I think it's expensive just as is, but I think at least on the US website you have to opt for the supplies. At least here.
Right. The ours is. Right. So it's just expensive.
The UK one shows it filled, but you just get an empty pouch.
Yeah, literally has all the pictures of it all filled, but the no option, and it doesn't say doesn't come filled. I was like,
this is what you could put in it.
Yeah. I pretty much got a knockoff one, and I was like, okay, what's stuff I could actually practically use airsoft? What's some injuries people would actually have? And so I just bought some stuff that I filled it up with. So I got that on the back. But man, what sold me on Agilite is that belt, the magnetics belt. Like that was the first thing I bought, and I was like, "Oh my word, this is so much better than anything I've ever used before." And that's what sold me on buying the whole rest of their gear. You know,
I have to admit, I've recently bought the belt, and
it's so nice.
Should we just leave these two too?
I was just about to say, should we put it in a little side room, or just? I might actually just go make a coffee in a second. It's just over there.
It's becoming a cult, you know.
Yeah. The one thing that I did buy was one of the QD hangers. So it's a hanger. I have it here because I wanted to show it off anyway.
Purchase
is the hanger, and literally just clip your QD buckle to it, and then just hang it up in the wardrobe.
Oh wow, that's cool.
It's like over here it's about £2.
I was about to say, was it as expensive as the medic pouch, or
no? This was a lot cheaper, and you can fit about 8 of these in the medic pouch. So.
I mean, that's what they should do. Just fill it with QD hangers.
Yeah.
At least you get something out of it.
Yeah.
Out of interest,
we better
Andy,
move on.
No, just out of interest, is that the proper Agilite one, or is that because I know you get a load of moody stuff on like AliExpress and Temu? And
no, so this hanger I bought from the States. It came as a set of 2, and it was like $15 total right after shipping, and then 2 days later I found it on Amazon for $4.99. I was like, brilliant. Same brand and everything. I was like, great. But yeah, I was supporting a small business over in America. So
there we go. And that's what we like.
There we go.
Trump will be thrilled.
Yeah.
Scott, on the same kind of topic, what would be, because obviously you've gone down the route of kind of showing cheaper entries into MilSim, but you're obviously a fan of high-end stuff as well. What would be your kind of favorite cheap thing that you've found that you've gone, actually, you know, this is not just like an entry-level thing, this is a bit of kit that I might use quite regularly?
I'll grab my play carrier here. I'll show you real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a full video where I'm going to show pretty much everything I've got on this play carrier. But one of this little phone holder here that I use, because I often use my phone when I'm out there to MilSim, especially with like the tracking apps or like Aries Alpha and stuff. It's like $10-15 on Amazon, but it is so sturdy and it can take any phone. So that's one of my favorite ones to have on my play carrier. And then another one that I recently found, I know Elite Force does one like this with Clover, but it's just a pull-out dead rag.
Oh yeah, exactly,
you know, that you can tuck back up in there and never lose it.
Amazing bit of kit.
I've got one of them. They're great.
I love it. And so, but yeah, those are pretty cheap. All the rest of this is not cheap, but yeah, I've been enjoying it. So
over there, the one thing that I've always wanted is a dead rag like a standard. Because over here, dead rags are pretty much non-existent. You'll probably get maybe one event a year that says that you need to have a dead rag, or one company that runs that rule. Overall, it's basically you just sit there with your hand up, screaming medic, or you act being wounded. Over there, is it like a flat rule for all events that a dead rag gets used, or?
I feel like it was back when I started, but now it seems very casual. Everybody seems to have a dead rag at a lot of these events because it's just a universal way of saying, hey, please don't keep shooting me. I am dead. You can't hear me say hit, but here's my red rag. But at American MilSim, they'll give you a red rag when the event starts. It's not end of the world if you don't have one. You can still put your hand up, you know, and make yourself evident that you are dead, you know, and you're not going to get in trouble for that. But yeah, I know, like at MilSim West, you're actually supposed to play like you got hit, so you fall to the ground, you yell and scream. That's the way people can tell you're dead, is because you ragdoll, in a sense, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, it's not really strict. I like to have one because it's just, gets rid of the drama of getting overshot and just be like, hey, clear red marker. Everybody understands universal symbol of dead.
So. Do you guys run a red light at night for the same principle?
Yeah. I have a V light on the top of my helmet. Just
cool
red light. So yeah.
Nice, good stuff.
Sometimes they'll require you to have like a cam light or a wrist brace that you can turn red, whatever. So just depends.
Yeah, I think that's.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on. It's fine.
Sure. Oh, sorry. Pegasus asks, Scott, do you or any of your team use EUD pouches or the holder? If so, what seems to be the go-to?
What does he mean by EUD? Doesn't sound like.
Does he mean EOD?
EOD?
Could be.
For grenades or what?
We'll come back to that one.
I know for a fact Ashley's like this now. Typing manically.
EUD.
EUD stands for European Union of the Deaf, apparently, so I don't think it's that.
Oh, no, yeah, maybe not that one.
Oh, end-user device.
End-user device. Not quite sure.
Is that like military for phone?
Yeah.
phone. So I just use my standard phone that just sits right in there. I have a standard push to talk, and then I've recently picked up some new radios, these digital radios, and that's what we're going to be using at this next event. They have like a 1 to 2 mile radius, which is a lot better than our Baofangs. So that's our primary communication. But on the phone, we try to have the squad on that Ares Alpha app, so we can then, I just pull down, I can see where, okay, this fire team's over here. I can see other squads. American MilSim tries to use them. It does drain the battery on the phone quite a bit, but that's pretty much the extent of it. Most guys don't run their phones, but I like the ones that I have kind of in charge, have phones on them so I can see where they're at in case radios don't work, so.
I'd like us to refer to it as end-user device from now on, please, going forward, if you can. Yeah. I have an end-user device 14 Pro Max, just saying.
I actually refer to it as my EUD, Lance.
Oh, the acronyms. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Right, talking of language, there is a question that Lance wants to ask.
Yes, I've got two questions, actually. This is a double-barrel one, so bear with me. Yes, on our 24-hour episode, as Mike started to explain earlier, Scott, I nearly called you Randy then. We had a guy from the States called Randy, and there's been an ongoing battle between Mike and the rest of the Airsoft community in the UK for years. So when you're out in the field, you reach into your pack, you're a bit thirsty, what do you grab out and unscrew the cap and take a drink from?
So I use a hydration pack, so I don't have to grab a water bottle.
Oh,
yes!
Water bottle! Yes!
My man.
Yeah. But I'm probably not the one to ask because I grew up South African, lived in Ireland, lived in America.
Yeah, Scott's not really American.
Move on. Whole life.
Move on.
Everybody's been telling me like that's not what we say.
He's
here.
more American than me. That's all that counts.
I would say that you are more diverse then. Like you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Understanding than Mike and his one airsoft gun.
So Mike's always referred to a water bottle as a canteen. And my second part to that question, Scott, is if you was tasked with a mission, you and your squad had to deploy out into a wood block, say, and get eyes on an enemy target and relay information and intel, what would you be carrying out? You'd be carrying out. There's a apparently, according to Mike, there's a way Americans say they're going to go out and observe a location, and there's a way that the British Army.
I don't know.
It begins with R. Both of them begin with R.
Oh, reconnaissance. Is that the word?
Do you
shortens down to?
Do you shorten it down?
Oh!
The 1-1.
Okay, we'll give you that one.
That's probably what I would say. I'd say we're going on a recon mission.
Recon. So yeah, we refer to it as a recce.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you used that? Have you used recce more than recon?
No, I've definitely said recon more.
I don't think
people here would understand what recce
statistically speaking, I'd just like to say, right, Randy was from the East Coast, yeah? Randy said recce and water bottle.
Really?
Scott's kind of in the middle, Scott says water bottle and recon. So we need to find someone proper West Coast. And by
that
extrapolation,
will say canteen and recon.
they will say canteen and recon. That's
Right.
how we're working it out at the
Just
moment.
slowly across the whole entire country.
I feel like you need someone southern. I feel like you need.
Scott's had enough. He's like, I can't sit with these clowns anymore. I'm gone.
This is what I would call a canteen.
Oh, that's old school.
Yeah,
No,
I've got one like that. I would refer to that as canteen.
Yeah, that's what I would say is canteen. That's a water bottle.
Ah, right. Okay. Because we don't carry those around, so I wouldn't call that a canteen. We have like the Pattern 58 Osprey, like the BCB style Crusader bottle type thing.
I haven't got one to hand, unfortunately.
I will find a picture of one because I am adamant that I am right on this.
If it's a military drinking thing, I would say canteen. That's personally what I would do. You know.
Okay, we'll come back
But
to
if
this
it's
one.
casual, like I'm taking it to work, it's going to be a water bottle.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I grant you on that one.
Yeah, but that literally everywhere sells it. Like if we're going off of the like Paul's just put the Osprey, like they sell it as a Osprey water bottle.
Don't care. This is very important to me. Right, this thing.
Yeah, the Osprey water
Which
bottle.
I'd like to point out is called the NATO Crusader Canteen with Cup.
Yeah, I would probably call that a canteen as well.
Yeah, but do you know why it's called a canteen?
Vindication! Vindication!
I'd like to add, do you know why it's called a
more.
canteen, though? Because it's a set. It's the cup, the spork, and the bottle. So that's a
No,
canteen
it says
set.
canteen with cup. It says with cup.
Well, that's completely
This is the hill I
completely
will die
been
on.
explained
I'm
wrong.
saying that. Right. We can.
Well, I'm
carry
glad
on the
we've
rest of
cleared
the
that
podcast
up.
now.
You know, that was
Yeah,
literally
I think we just made it. Yeah, I think we
the
just
only
made it
reason
worse
we
now.
got Scott on the show was to clarify that. The rest of it's all been filling, basically. So thanks.
I just like Mark's comment. Just
Shut up, Mark. Mike, you're still wrong.
Shut up, Mark. You're still wrong.
Right. Carrying on. The Lone Tree MilSim team. How many players have you got? You said you were kind of building that up again.
Yeah, so I would say we have about 23 members, but not all of them are actually playing right now. We're taking 9 down to this event next week. I managed to get 9 guys to sign up, but I would say we probably have around the 10 to 12 mark. And so I want to try and get up to about like 20 people that are consistent. And so that way, maybe we can take 2 squads to an event, you know, or if it's a really far event, maybe we can at least get half of them to come fill up but that's probably where we're at right now.
Do you have defined roles?
So I'm typically squad leader, but I am open to not being squad leader if somebody else wants to play that role at times. But my buddy John, he's typically RTO, which is the radio guy. He usually, because I can't have squad comms, platoon comms and everything else going on in my head while trying to talk to people and trying to do the camera stuff. So I have him manage the radios. He's usually my RTO guy. A couple guys that run saws. We're hoping to eventually get some DMRs and some snipers on the team at some point, but right now it's just riflemen after that. So we have some guy that typically plays medic and he's really good at it. So he just typically fills that role. But oftentimes we'll sometimes rotate medic if they allow it. So give him a break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. And is it with? Oh, go on, Andy. Sorry, mate.
No, I was just going to say, do your events with a medic role, like how does that work? Like, is it a standard thing where you have to put a like over here, like we use bandages, tourniquets that can't be tightened up, for like your first wound. Some companies have even got like lolly sticks that you use as like a morphine, and you break them onto your leg. How do the medic rules? Does it vary from company to company, or is it?
Yeah, it definitely varies quite a bit. Local fields sometimes will just do the tap, tap 10 times, you can come back in. Sometimes you just go back to respawn. But for the MilSim events, American MilSim, they just do ace-type bandages where you just wrap it around your arm. You get two revives, or I guess, medic is, bandages on you, and then you can't be revived anymore. I know there was an event back in the day which I thought did it really well. There was like 2 medics per squad. They had a big pack on them that had a syringe, a tourniquet, and some other stuff on there. So if you went down, you had to put the tourniquet on, they had to get the syringe and enact the syringe, put a bandage on, then they'd have to take the tourniquet off, and then you'd have to drink some water because it was usually really hot. And and then you could come back in, which I thought was more engaging than just someone just quickly wrapping and getting you back.
Yeah, it gives the medic more of a role as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
a
can
lot
anyone...
of
Sorry, Scott, go on.
A lot of events also have it so when you die, you cannot move. If you need to get to cover, you have to be dragged or carried if you give permission for that, which I think is cool, instead of somebody walking to safety or just being grabbed and pulled and walked. I think it's cool if you actually have to coordinate to get somebody back in.
Yeah, what I was going to say, Scott, was regarding the medic rule for this sort of like the US events and stuff. Is it's happened over here a few times where your squad or your section would have a designated medic, and if they are taken out of the game, if they're wounded, injured, or they've gone back to respawn or whatever it might be, you have to make that choice then as to whether you continue on mission or you wait for your medic to respawn. Or is it a case out there that, like, so you as a team leader can also medic some of your players back in, or is it purely just the medic can do the medic in, or is it like a first bandage, anyone can do it? Or
So American MilSim is just medic only, can only do the reviving. I've been to some events where everybody has one buddy revive, so everybody on the squad can do one revive themselves. So they'll save that for the medic. American MilSim is just one, the one medic. If he gets shot, he's out unless another squad with their medic can come revive him. And so typically what we'll do is we'll get on the radio saying, hey, our medic's down. We need somebody to come help, get him back up. And so that's what we'll try and radio, get in help like that way. Otherwise, we'll eventually go till we all get hit, bleed out, head back to base.
Sort of respawn, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So with that, how does obviously, like, we've seen YouTube videos of MilSim West that have like a lot of vehicles. You said that a few of your events that you've been to recently, especially in the wooded areas, they don't have vehicles. At most MilSims, do you find that you end up having like a specialist, say QR can't speak now, QR team ready to go?
It's pretty casual at some of these events that we've gone to, at least the ones here, where everybody just goes, we got your squads, you got your platoons, and you're given a specific mission and you go and do it. Sometimes if you find specific intel, you can come back and they say, oh, this unlocked a mission, we're going to send you guys on this specialized mission to go do it. It's sometimes they'll have like a third-party faction that'll be in the event, dressed in civilian clothes or something like that, that you got to go take a target out or something like that. But it's honestly event by event, host by host, it can be very different,
Scott, just for me, but the structure of the events out there. I mean, obviously you've got your go-to events that you like to attend. I mean, with the couple of different companies that you've dealt with, is the actual the MilSim itself, are they structured quite similar? As in, like, your arrival, you obviously check in, you get your safety briefing, and then is it pretty much sort of like game on from there? And you get like a further like mission task briefing once you're out in the field, and then obviously the game just runs through until end X, or is there a break in the middle, or how does that work?
So, like I said, American MilSim's the one that we're going to most. But next week we're going to one down in California. And right now we're getting a lot of the information from our platoon leader and the people in charge of the TAN team. And so they're sending out our comms. They're going to start sending out maps, and then they're going to start sending us information for the squad leaders to look over and see kind of what our objectives are. And then when we get there, so the event starts Friday. You get there, you check in, chrono, safety briefs, and all that kind of stuff. In the evening, you go and you get into a whole faction meeting. And that's when they'll pull up a map and say, hey, this is where we are. We have, objectives over here, or there's something possibly over here. And so you get a little bit of lay of the land. And then you go and meet with your specific platoon leader. And he will then give you, okay, so this is what we've been tasked. We're going on the right side of the map. We got to go capture this point, and stuff. And then we'll go do that. And the games usually start on Saturday in the morning, go until late Saturday night, come back to camp, sleep, and then we go do it again on Sunday. The 24-hour events would just be, you start Saturday at like noon, and you just play till Sunday noon. And those are the best. I love those events.
Absolutely, yeah.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of those in our area. I'm hoping American MilSim will start doing that someday in the future, but right now it seems to be a little bit more casual. But MilSim West I know they start, I think, Friday night, and they go until Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah,
show
I
up.
think Defiant over here have done that where you've like infilled on the Friday, so you've infilled under the cover of darkness,
Right.
and sort of set up an OP or got into like a harbour area with the rest of your platoon. And obviously, do your squads, like as it comes up like nightfall, do your squads have like a guard duty rotation where you've got like your main compound? Do you have a team on stag there or guard whilst other teams are carrying out like recon and like assault patrols and stuff like that?
It really depends on how organized the event is and what's going on at that point in time. So the events we're doing here in the woods, they call it a little bit earlier. So before, like the sun stays up pretty late around here, especially in the summertime. And so we're playing by the time it's like 10 o'clock at night, you can still see,
Mm-hmm.
and we're still playing. At the 24-hour events that we've been to, yeah, there will be some people that will defend, some people will just be sleeping. But honestly, that's when you see a lot of people flake out of the event, and it's just whoever's left is still playing, kind of thing. One of the best events was the one in Utah that we went to, whereas we had the 12 squad. It was full 24 hours in the Utah desert. It was amazing. And we were the only squad that was together and still playing the full 24 hours that whole event. And they gave us all custom T-shirts, and we were the squad of the battle because we're the only ones that stayed the whole event. And that's the one thing we want to make sure we do is like we're there. We're not quitting, So
that's it, exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I found is you have teams that sort of go down throughout the event, and then it can sort of start having like a negative impact on other teams because they can't do, especially from an organizer's point of view, where oh god, we've had 3 teams drop out through just being exhausted or not taking care of themselves properly and going down being ill, dehydration, this, that, and the other. Right. But that's had a knock-on effect now to other scenarios that they had planned throughout the event, which sort of now can't be done. And so I think it's a lot of people, they sort of run themselves into the ground early on. They don't maintain that level of like hydration, resting when they can. When they're told to rest by the organizer, you're not doing this yet, but they're like, oh, I want to go and do something else. I want to go, and then like you say, 10 p.m. they're just crashing and dropping out.
Yep.
And you're left there to pick the pieces up.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I also don't like these split events, I like the 24 hours, is because the split events, everyone plays hard the Saturday, Sunday comes, they're too sore in the morning, so they leave, or they don't want to go play. And the last few events we've been to, Sunday, it's like, where's everybody? We lost like 100 people, and it's usually the green team that quit. Mm-hmm. And then it's just tan team just absolutely demolishing green team. And it's like, well, half of them left. I think having that, when you have a 24-hour straight event, you get people that are more in the mindset of like, okay, I'm here for this long period of time. I'm not having the chance to go feel the pain in my body and, decompress and feel like I don't want to do it the next morning, So that's why I like the 24-hour ones. But
do you see the same teams of people? Sorry, Baddy, just quickly. Do you see the same teams of people at the 24-hour event as you do like the 2-day battle sim, as we would call it, with the break in the middle?
Well, here it's whatever events here we're going to go to, and that's a lot of the mindset of the people in this area because there's not a lot. Like I think we just had 2 events in this area last year, and so it's like if there's an event, everybody's going to go, whether they're hardcore or casual. And so, but the ones that travel the distance, they're the ones that'll do, all the hardcore events and stuff. And that's what we really want to grow into, is being ones that go and do these 40-hour events, do it hardcore like that. So, because that just sounds the most fun,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I find the ones where you stop the worst. Because, like you said, that's when the aches and the pains, and you get yourself comfy in bed, and you think, "Oh, do you know what? Like, I'm quite comfy here."
Yeah,
whereas,
this is too good.
Yeah. Whereas if you're out there, and you're like, you get 15 minutes sleep, and then you have to go back out, or you have another task and come in, or you get bumped in the night and you get hardly any sleep. Like you go, oh well, I'll just shake the pain off. I know my feet are bleeding. It doesn't matter because
if you stay miserable, you're fine.
Yeah, if you stay miserable, grumpy, it works.
Stay low, you can't get any worse.
So you just get that little bit of joy.
At 4 or 5 in the mornings when you really see the crazy side of somebody, and it's the best, once they've been going hard for a whole day, you see sides of people that you didn't know existed, and it's the best,
Definitely crazy hour at that time.
No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, you should watch our 24-hour event. That like you can gradually
our 24-hour live show
was crash.
That's It's hard.
Yeah,
Weird
it
at
was.
night.
It got weird quick.
Yeah,
At some point, tech is going to get good enough to where you can live stream a whole MilSim event, which would be amazing.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll catch up where the GoPro won't overheat the whole time. You can have it plugged into an external battery pack and just live stream the whole thing, with a hotspot, which I can't wait for that day. I'd be like, all right, you're at the event, record. You're going to see absolutely everything.
Yeah, that would be wicked.
Yeah.
Unless YouTube needs to sort themselves out. Stop banning guns.
Yeah. Well, things seem to be changing. I don't know. You saw Mark Zuckerberg changing Instagram and Facebook policies and stuff. So, because my Instagram is completely shadow banned, nobody can find it, and so it's like, hopefully that'll change. They say on this, whenever I do an appeal, it says, "Oh, because you show regulated goods such as marijuana and alcohol." I'm like, what? There's none of that on there. So
yeah. The best one I had was I left my vape pen. I had a photo of 2 of my riffs and one of my camo hats, but I left the vape pen on the side, and that was what got it banned.
Wow.
They went, "You can't post vaping products," and I was like, "Oh."
I had a foot care video removed from YouTube because it contained adult content. Believe it or not, yeah. So that was a surprise.
But weirdly, it still draws people to it.
Yeah,
because that's what people search for. Scott, have you got any questions for us? Because I know that you were keen to kind of find out a little bit about British MilSim.
So a lot of the stuff I see online is I see Sterling Airsoft do a lot of events over there, and it seems to be a lot more role play at your guys' event. Is that a common thing, where you'll have people acting like terrorists and stuff like that, and playing out the role of infilling a base? Is that more common there, more of a role play in terms of mission? Because right now here it's just really just force on force. Here's some command points to go capture and maybe a side mission. Is there a little bit more pretend?
Yeah, I would probably say it's almost, it depends on the event. I mean, the guys might disagree, but it's almost like 50-50, if not more.
Really?
Some of the role play sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, a lot of organisers. Yeah, I'd say a lot of organisers push for the more role playing side of things.
Okay. Some organisers actually advertise for free spaces for the event for sort of Amdram actors or anything like that, or people who just want to take part of Civ Pop, and just sort of get in amongst it and just be a nuisance and things like that. They actually advertise, you can come along to the event for free. Obviously, you won't be taking part as a player, but you will be there as an actor, as an element of the immersion.
That's cool.
Which is, and it does make it very cool. Yeah, it is really good. Yeah, especially when, like we say, we've done recce or recon events, and you're actually observing people day to day, this comings and goings, moving munitions or whatnot from one building to another, and recording that. And obviously, if those people weren't there to do that, it would just be, like you say, a force on force event without that story build up to a big crescendo at the end. So yeah, a lot of companies over here do rely on people to roll. Obviously, you haven't got to if you don't want to. You can
so much fun though.
But it is good fun. It is really good fun.
Andy and
you can really put the frighteners up people as well.
We did a DEA style event, so you had sort of a variety of cartel gangs, and then the equivalent of task force was DEA. Andy and I were on the cartel side, and we got arrested as kind of part of a set piece. So we were locked up in the police station for sort of 4 hours or something ridiculous. And I just talked the whole time. I was like, I'm going to be the most annoying prisoner. And
then they separated us, didn't they?
That's awesome. I wish there was a little bit more of that. The extent of the story that they do is just really just a blog post where they say, oh, this team's attacking this team. Nobody really engages with that. I wish there was a little bit more of that role play. When we did play 10 years ago, there was a couple events that tried to do it, but it actually felt like a detriment to the event, because they would usually set the civilians up in the coolest location where we couldn't play because it was a safe zone, and so we'd just be playing out in the woods, and everyone's like, oh, I want to play in this small town, So,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
So that is something I wish they did a little bit more here, was the role play. That kind of cool, like, oh, it's a prisoner we got to go get, here's a picture of his face, let's go break in. And there's a lot of cool stuff. I watch a lot of the stuff over in Europe, I'm like, man, I gotta go there, it looks so good.
You got elements like border war and things like that out in Europe and stuff like that. But I mean, there's a company over here, Octo8, and they rely a lot on role play stuff, to the point where it actually determines the outcome of the following event. So they'll have like a broad storyline of this is what's happened in this country. These are the teams that are in it, and they'll give you a nice build up, and then the event will play out. And depending what choices you've made as a team during that event will affect the storyline going into the next one. And they actually do a series of events along that storyline where you've got like a PMC faction, you've got like a special forces team, and then you've got like an indigenous rebel group or population that's sort of taken them up arms.
That's cool.
And it develops like that, and it's been going for years. It's such a good way of planning an event and keeping a storyline fresh, but retaining the teams. So, which is cool.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, that would be such an incentive to get people to come back to the next event.
But this
to
is
get
it,
people engaged. Yeah, because that's the thing here is like you just go play. You can have a good time or a bad time depending on how many kills you got, and then that's it. And there's no really incentive to going back unless you want to know what happens. Oh no, we lost this battle. What's going to happen? I got to be there for the defense. I'd love a little bit more of that element here. That'd be so sweet.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Maybe we can. Maybe we'll come over and organise an event.
Seriously, like we need. I think we need some more hosts up here. Some more big event things.
NoFo breaks the US. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Because the one thing I like about Octo 8 is like me and Lance were on opposite teams one time, and Octo run a rule where if your limbs get hit, you don't have to call for a medic. You just don't use that limb. So like it's been shot and like you're still in a firefight, and Lance managed to get both my legs and my right arm while I was carrying the saw. So there's me crawling like with just one arm on his
chin,
on my chin, like literally, just so I could try and shoot him. It's one of those things where you kind of turn around and go, actually, do you know what? That was a really good experience. Instead of me being hot and just like shot and then just drop on the floor, I could carry on fighting with the saw, but I had no arms and one arm. So no legs and one arm, which makes you kind of just roll around like a dead fish.
Unfortunately, we are sort of coming to the end of the show. Scott, thank you ever so much for joining us, mate. It's genuinely an absolute pleasure, and we'll definitely get you back on. We're planning our 24-hour live stream at the moment. So with the time difference and stuff, maybe we can sort of try and loop something in there that you can find us when we're in our silly hour.
There we go. I'll hop in and
absolutely.
Because what's the time there at the moment?
Right now it's about 2:30 p.m. So
okay, not too bad. They're not too bad.
Yeah, that's good. And you guys usually do this on Wednesdays, correct?
Wednesday 8 p.m. UK time.
Wednesday's one of my days off, so I'm always free on these days. So
we'll have to get a debrief, Scott, from your event next week.
Yeah, dude. Oh,
that'd be cool.
Well, let me tell you about it real quick. So, this is the first time that anyone's hosted an event here that I'm aware of, and it's an old mining town in California that was like abandoned 50 years ago because the mine closed. So there's just 4,000 homes that have been sitting there for like 50 years. And it's been completely fenced off, so the public's not been allowed in there. And there's churches and schools and just suburban homes, and it looks like the dream. And as soon as they announced it, we're like, we're going. And they've already sold out. I think there's over 400 people going. I think they're trying to cap it for the first event. But
that is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
that's going to be wicked.
Yeah. And is that a privately owned town, if you like? That a MilSim company's hiring, or
I think so. I think somebody owns the land, or they got special permission. We're not allowed to use drones at this event. That was one of their things they said no drones, and so. But man, we're so stoked because it looks amazing. They don't want to say the name of the town because they're afraid people will try and get in there because it's all fenced off, and since once the gates are open for the event, so they've just been kind of keeping it pretty vague. So I don't want to say where it is, but
no, that's fair enough.
We're very excited to go do it. I think we're gonna have some awesome footage from it.
Well, I can't wait to see and hear about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So they obviously there's no drones. Are they allowing vehicles at this one if it's got like proper roads and everything, or
got roads and everything? I've not heard. They said no personal vehicles, so you can't just bring your own vehicle to the event. They do allow that at some events where if you build your own pickup, you can bring that to an event, but they're not allowing it at this event. But I'm not sure if they're going to provide their own. It's possible, but I've not heard anything yet. But it would work perfectly at this event because it's insane.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
I'll definitely send you some pictures. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Just a little one there, Scott. Pegasus has put, I've noticed when I had to do a time lapse recently, removing the battery from a GoPro and just having the USB power stop it from overheating. That might be something to consider.
Yeah,
There you
I've
go.
heard that. But the problem is the GoPro can get super hot depending on how you're doing it, and it can actually cause damage to the lens or the internals and stuff if it gets too hot. I've had somebody else tell me that, like, oh yeah, just run it without the battery, just enter an external battery pack. And so, but actually, I'm changing camera for this event. I'm going with the new DJI Action 5 Pro. It seems really good so far. I'm pretty excited for it. It seems to last twice as long in terms of recording, and you can have different aspect ratios. So I'm excited to try it out. So I'll be making a video on how I record Airsoft in the coming months, and so I'll have my definitive whether to ditch GoPro.
Yeah,
go something new. Yeah,
you trailblazing maverick.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Scott, how can people find you?
Lone Tree MilSim on YouTube or just Instagram. You can find me there. That's pretty much the main two places I post. I have a Facebook page, but it's not really used as much. But yeah, just YouTube is the primary spot where I go to. So yeah,
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you can't find Scott for whatever reason, you can get in touch with us and we can point you in the right direction as well as joining us for any questions or whatever in the future. So if you can email us at nofochat@hotmail.com. Our Instagram is at November_Foxtrot_NoFo. And the website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk. Scott, we normally have closing words, which is kind of it's either a piece of advice or just some random words that we throw together. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't. But as the guest, we'd like to offer you the chance to have the closing words for the episode.
Well, I guess my hot take is throw away all your high cap mags and just use mid caps. Get rid of them. I hate high cap mags. Don't need people winding. Just run mid caps and just help the realism grow.
You and Mike are getting like a house on fire. Oh dear!
I used it at one event because
they don't call Mike the Rattler for nothing.
Rattler.
Yeah. So basically, we'll be back next week at 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. It is our 200th episode next week. So we will no doubt have some fun things going on.
Brace yourselves.
Yeah. It's gonna be. Oh, it's 200.
There's something's going to happen.
So many episodes.
Unbelievable.
Congrats, guys.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you. Well, we've not done it yet, so
it's not 100,000. It's not 100,000 followers, but maybe we'll make our own little plaque.
There we go.
Scott reckons you can buy them on eBay. I think we'll just buy some and then we'll just get them made up for us.
Yeah, just Sharpie. Sharpie's your friend.
Yeah.
No, Scott, genuinely, thanks ever so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
absolutely, mate. Yeah, anytime.
And then pretty much the only thing left to do is say goodbye. So unless anybody else has anything else they want to add?
No, I'm good.
No? Cool. Nice one. We'll say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Stay
nice
NoFo.
We'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Stay NoFo. Ciao, Bella.
Bye.